What's up, and welcome to the second episode of Why Are You a Gamer? I'm so excited to do this show because it is my chance to get to know the gaming community one-on-one. Each and every Monday, a new episode goes live as I try to discover why we play video games. And of course, you can find this on your podcast platform of choice. And if you're using Apple Podcasts, please give me a 5-star rating. That helped me out a lot. And then also leave a comment and let me know how I'm doing. Oh, by the way, I forgot to do this last episode. I'm your host, Jarmar. And for this week's episode, my guess, I thought long and hard of our origin story, of our friendship. And I came up with a huge blank. Well, he's somebody I didn't know until I did. And now we're really good friends. He makes all the artwork for Media Junkie. He's a co-host on the Gimmick Minute podcast, a fellow fanboy, and he's the nicest asshole I know. His name is Mike. What's up, man?
That was probably the best intro I've ever had. I like it. How's it going?
Hey, man. So it's just funny because the other day, it was a while ago when we were talking about the turtles after me striking out multiple times to find Bebop, Rocksteady and Bebop. And I was like, yeah, Mike said he has them. He bought 2. And she's like, oh, that's really nice. And then she goes, yeah, Mike acts like he's an asshole and he may come off that way, but he's really just nice at heart. I was like, you know what? That's really true.
What? No, I didn't instantly call you while I'm standing in the middle of a Target NECA section holding 2 Rocksteady and Bebops waiting for you to answer my call or anything. That didn't
That's
happen.
why. And that's why I was like, I have to add in the nicest asshole I know because it's true. But I know you, obviously, and we're going to do this show to figure out why you play video games. So we're going to get to know you as a gamer in a whole. But for people who don't know you at all and just want to know Mike the human, just give me a quick little elevator pitch on who you are.
Oh, man. I mean, you summed it up pretty well there. I'm the nicest asshole you'll know because I don't like people at all. And yet I still go out of my way for a select few. But I collect action figures and statues and comics and play video games and spend way too much time designing okay artwork for all of our podcasts and for the t-shirts that I hope that sell and then you occasionally do.
Well, let's get some details. So in the last episode, I spoke with Wes and he told me, he's old guy. So he was like 32 or something like that. I really don't know Wes's age. How old are you, Mike?
I'm 28, man. How do you not know your best friend's age?
Dude, age after you become a certain age now, like I don't remember people's ages at all. I don't know my family members' age, let alone like Wes's age. So
like I understand like not knowing your parents' ages because they're so old that it's kind of hard to like keep track of that, but like your friends, I feel like you should, like, especially if it's your best friend. Like if it's just like, okay, you don't know most of your friends' ages, you should at least know your best friend's age.
I know he's around 32. And I guess it is sad because he just said it on the last episode. But he did also, mention some things. So like, where are you at, man? Are you it feels weird me asking you because I know the answer. But for the people, where are you located? For all the fans out there.
I am up in the mountains in Arizona, where it's not a living hell of 100 degrees. Instead, last week I had an adult snow day where my work closed down and I got to get paid to sit at home.
Well, that does sound fun. I miss those, actually. Snow days were like the best thing ever.
Aren't they, though? Like, I had never realized how much I missed them until I suddenly had one. Like 28 years old, I never expected to get a call, hey, we're closing early, don't come in. And then to find out that I get paid for it on top of that, like, damn.
Yeah, that's actually probably the most epic part of it is getting paid to have a snow day. That's awesome.
Right?
Well, I guess I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of who you are. I already know the answer again, but you're not a family man, so you have no kids. We don't have to go down that path. But let's just get into the who are you as a gamer. All right, you ready for this? This
is gonna be if anyone wants to know how much I really don't like kids, just listen to the last Fanboy Fight Club.
Oh God, that's another show that has a really huge fan base. I am joking. So the first question I deemed to myself as the most important question of them all, and that one is the platform of choice. Last episode, I should say, it was a little kind of confusing because PlayStation 4 is kind of dominating. But I mean, I'm going to open this up as well. You could choose any platform on this episode, so you can make it the last,
like old ones. Like it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't I don't have, I'm not going to base it to right now. It's not going to be the divide of like PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. I'm just going to open it up and say, what is your platform of choice?
Didn't even mention the Switch. That's cold.
Well, the Switch too. There you
go. But see, the only problem is like when you say like your console of choice, I take that, or your platform of choice, I take that as like, what do you play the most? To me, which would be my PlayStation, hands down, because I want to love my Switch. It's very hit or miss if the games that I get for it are enjoyable enough to keep me on it, or if I just go back to playing garbage on my PlayStation with you guys.
By garbage, you mean Call of Duty. So, I mean, that's funny though, because I'm going to harken back to the last episode because that's the history of this podcast, one episode. But yeah, we didn't even mention the Switch the entire episode. So
that's
weird. That's weird. But
like, Switch is like in second place. Like how are like as far as like the current like console wars, how are you going to completely just leave them out?
I don't know. Blame Wes. The podcast was about him.
Oh man.
So you basically are kind of thrust into the love of the PlayStation 4, and sometimes your side chick is the Switch. Right?
Oh yeah,
got that right.
And unfortunately, my side chick, the Switch, she disappoints me a lot, so I don't go back very often.
But you keep her around, you keep her around.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, oh, you know what? I want to spice it up a little bit. Let's go over here and see what's going on. And then I just like, oh man, I should have stayed at home.
Well, before I get you in trouble, let's go to the next question. Let's talk about your genre. So this question here is like, what is the type of game that you just go back for time after time? Like, if you could design the perfect Switch game, what would you make it? Like, what genre would you be?
Oh man, the problem is like I'm just a sucker for like open world RPGs. Like I try not to, but they're so addictive. Like people always complain like, oh, they want like a singular story that just kind of like takes them where they need to be. But I want to like explore and see what that world's about. I want that world to come to life. I don't want it to just be like, oh, here's XYZ, and then you're at the end of the game. I want, here's XYZ, but I can go visit the rest of the alphabet if I want, and spend 300 hours in the unfortunate Fallout 76 and get absolutely nowhere, but still just love every second of it.
Well, I know I didn't prep you for this question, but since you say the open world RPG is your jam, what would you say is like your favorite?
Oh, hands down, Fallout 3. Like,
okay.
Nothing compares to that for me. Like, that probably was my first like introduction to an open world RPG outside of just like the top-down like Zelda styles, where it's like open world but still kind of closed off a bit.
Yeah.
And just like the fact that I could wander around and I'd find a random cave with like some skeletons, and it'd have like a holotape, and you listen to it and it tells you the story of this family that was just trying to get out of the radiation and get away from the raiders and stuff. Like that world, like despite of how shitty it looked because it's Bethesda's awful engine, it felt so alive compared to some games where you play them and you could have everything going around you, but it just all feels robotic and like, oh yeah, that's happening, but that person really doesn't like have any personality to them. They're just there because they're there. Like you play GTA and those people, like it's the same 50 characters.
Yeah, they have no story.
Like, just run and call you a clown or an asshole or what have you. And it's just something about those open world games that really it takes that like escape. Like we play video games to escape, and I feel like it takes it to the next level because it's like you're going to a whole new world versus it just being like, okay, I'm playing this game, I'm kind of immersed and I really like it, but it doesn't like really take you there.
I get you. So I mean, I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper in this, but like when you say that, because the open world RPG, sometimes the story is like up for you to find,
Mm-hmm.
So like, what do you think about like the singular story like narrative games? Because I'm sure you like have played Uncharted and like The Last of Us stuff like that. So like those are like narrative focused. Open world RPGs typically are a little bit broad. Do you still like enjoy those games, or is that like RPGs, open world RPGs, just get
100%.
it for you?
I absolutely love Uncharted, Last of Us, the Arkham series, Spider-Man, Crash, like the list goes on. It's just those games, like what fits like a singular story, I'll play it once, and the likelihood of me going back to it is very, very slim, unless it's something that like really like hooked me. An open world game, I could be done with the main story and just be dicking around. Like we'll go back to Fallout 76. There's really no main story there. I've probably spent over 100 hours just dicking around making my camp and like moving things around and finding new locations and stuff. Like it's just a different experience. Like as much as I love, I nothing against like singular, like linear stories and stuff like that. Like I said, I love all those games. They just I had to like cold turkey Fallout because I was literally staying up a couple hours extra a night just so I could play a little bit, and then I'd be tired and exhausted the next day, and it would be like wash, rinse, repeat. And I'm like, am I really getting anything from this game, or is it just me being addicted to this like being able to go and tell my own story kind of thing?
That's funny that you say that, because I think the underlying theme of this whole series of shows is going to be video games. Video game addiction, because it's definitely 100% an addiction.
Right. Why are you addicted?
Because we brought that up last week as well, which kind of plays into my next question. How often do you get to play a week? So you're not a family man, you don't have little kids running around the house holding you down, but you do work, and you're out in Arizona, so I'm assuming you look outside and look at mountains. Like, so I don't know, like how often do you get to play video games a week?
Decently often, I'd say, depending on how rough work was and how many shows I have to catch up on. Anywhere from 5 to 7 days a week, usually a couple hours, and then like usually the weekends are when I really get a chance to play, where I'll get to play for like 3 to 5 hours consistently. Like today, for instance, I tried to play Pokemon and only to be disappointed. So then I decided to play a little bit of Call of Duty before we hopped on here to do the podcast. So like weekends, I definitely get a lot more time. Weekdays, it's a hit or miss if I'm feeling up to it, but maybe like an hour or two a night.
That sounds about right. I mean, I feel like I'm on the par with you. I love that you say like, depending on how like rough work was, do you play more when you have the shittier your day, the more likely you play, or you just like, I just want to go home and curl up in a ball?
It's very much the opposite. Like if I'm having a good day, I'll come home and be like, all right, yeah, I'm up for some games. If I'm having a shitty day, I'm like, no, if I turn on that system, it's going out the window. So,
well, I feel it.
It's just that one moment where you're like having like a few bad rounds of Call of Duty or something, and you're just like, this just made my day worse. Why did I do this to myself? I'm gonna throw myself off the balcony now.
That is 100% entirely fair. You mentioned Pokemon. Now I'm assuming you're referring to Sword and Shield.
Yes, I got Sword, and oh man, Nintendo and Game Freak, like, man,
I won't go down the road of your depression or your disappointment in the game, but the reason why I say that is because now that sounds like a game that's going to get added to your backlog. Partly because you don't seem to be having fun with it, but like, are there other games that are in your backlog that you feel like you need to get to? Because this year has been pretty crazy, I think, personally, for games.
The worst part is like, it's not even restricted to this year. Like, I'm so like far back. I still need to finish Horizon Zero Dawn.
Which is funny because I was going to bring that up when you mentioned open world RPG. And that's why I was like, wait a minute, have you not played Horizon?
Like, I love Horizon. It just, when it came out, I didn't have time for it. And then when I finally got it, it was around the same time. Like, I got it right before Spider-Man came out. And then Spider-Man, I'm like, fuck everything else. So I just never got around to going back to it. But I've got to finish Horizon Zero Dawn. I need to finish the last DLC for Spider-Man. I need to finish all the DLCs for Fallout 4. I need to actually start playing and finish Luigi's Mansion. I need to decide if I'm going to waste my time finishing Pokemon. I need to play Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Yeah,
I
that
feel like
one
there
just
was.
got added to my backlog because it was like on sale. So I'm like, all right, I want to play this. But now I
I
feel
got it
bad
free
because
on
I
launch
just
day and I
started.
still haven't played it.
Jesus, man, it came out the beginning of the year.
I
But
know.
like I just started it and then the like a leak happened, for
For
RE3
the new
remake
one,
and I'm
yeah.
like, shit. Now I can't I might as well just put this on the backlog and just wait until the next one comes out, put that on the
So
backlog.
that's that way you don't play that one either.
Right. It's the addiction, man. Like I gotta have it, but at the same time, I don't want
Oh, dude, yeah.
it.
It's like, oh, I
um,
need it, but then it just sits there on your PlayStation dashboard or on your shelf, and you're just like, oh well, I'll play it eventually. Until eventually you need space and you delete it, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm not gonna play that.
yeah, it's like I'm sacrificing this game. uh, that's funny. So it was a little bit different, questions, kind of like changes it up a little bit. But like, do you have something that you're unashamed that you love? So I know like everyone has a game that they play, whether it's mobile or whatnot, that you just like. I'm ashamed that I love this game, but fuck it, I love it. I mean,
I feel
Fallout
like I should
76.
be ashamed that I that I love Fallout 76 so much, but at the same time, I'm not. Just because I look at it as all the people who are hating on it don't play the game,
That's
and
true.
like at that point, like fuck you. Like if you don't play it, your opinion don't matter to me. Um, Ironically, I always talk shit about games that I've never played too. But anyway,
I wasn't gonna call you out on that. Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, Control.
Just
God,
keep
I don't even
going.
know what else.
Those two are the
But
major ones that hurt me the most, but it's okay.
ultimately, I think the game that I'm probably most ashamed of enjoying is Fortnite. Like I don't know what it is about that game, but like every few months I'll just be like, let's see what's different in it, and then I'll play it, and then I'll get hooked for a few weeks, and I'm like, man, this game's garbage. Why am I doing this to myself? It's like when you don't have you don't have McDonald's because you know how awful it is, and then you're just like one day you break down, you have it, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the good stuff, and then you're just like, I'm a fucking terrible human being.
That's a really good analogy for Fortnite and McDonald's. I like that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I know we had a very high run. I mean, we were playing that
Oh yeah, we played
nonstop
that
last
for
year.
like 6 months straight. Like
Yeah,
it was a long time that we played it because there wasn't really anything like multiplayer that was good that came around that time. It wasn't until Apex came out that we finally stopped playing it and moved on to that.
that's
And
true.
Apex
That's very true.
anymore is
It's
just
Call
so
of Duty.
overplaced. I'm like, I'm good. Like
Yeah, it's all about Call of Duty now, man.
it is.
Which,
It's so weird. I wouldn't have ever thought I'd say that phrase again in what's it been like 10 years since
dude,
Modern Warfare 2
tell me
came out or
about it.
something?
I never liked Call of Duty games. I always just played them for like I should say I never liked the multiplayer. I always just played
Mhm.
it for the story and then just like returned it from to like the red box. But man, I fucking love this one. I don't know why.
Oh, dude, I absolutely loved Modern Warfare 1 and 2. Like, I played them till the point where the only people on the servers where you'd have a handful of people in the States, but most of it were people from other countries when they were like screaming at you in languages you didn't know. And I'm like, all right, so this is my life now. I'm playing a game that's so outdated that no one in America plays it anymore.
Keep it. You're just representing for the United States, man. You gotta love
Right? I'm
that.
representing in this awful game series that just like continually got worse. Just reveling in the like two shiny turds out of the whole pile.
This is gonna be a hard change because this isn't a shiny turd. But is there, for example, a shiny turd that you wish that people would play? So something like Control or Death Stranding. More specifically for me, Control. I'm not here to answer the question. How about you answer the question? What's something you
I
wish
mean,
everyone would
if
play
there
back?
was one game that's like, we'll stick to current gen that I feel like
Yeah.
people should at least give a chance. It's Fallout 76. Like, I get it. It had a really rocky launch, but you kind of have to go into it for what it is. It's a MMO where you tell the story. It's not gonna hand it to you. It's not gonna hold your hand. You go around, you find things, you do missions, you meet random super mutants who aren't trying to kill you and want to be your friend, and you meet up with other random people who either decide they want to try to kill you or they want to help you or they need your help, and like it's Yeah, it's buggy, but that's Bethesda. Like, I'm sorry, if you're gonna use that as your excuse to not play it, then you better not like Skyrim. Because Skyrim, to this day, through its 1,000 remakes, is still just as buggy as any Fallout 76 game. So it's a lot of fun. They fixed a lot of the problems. They've made more problems out of their like political side of things with being like, hey, here's a subscription service for people to spend money on, even though we just pushed back that huge DLC we talked about.
Well, so like this is your chance, you're evangelizing this game. And I was on the fence. I played a little bit of it and I still am, heavily interested because I just like Fallout games in general. But like what was that about? Like, could you I know this is not really the question, but I'm really curious because like it came out and I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Why are they charging a subscription? Where the fuck is my what was it, the single player, not single player, but like where's the NPCs? Yeah, where are my NPCs? You delayed that and now you're giving me a subscription?
So a few weeks before the NPCs were supposed to launch, they pushed them back, and then apparently they decided, because I'm assuming this was already on the board, that they weren't gonna, when they announced it, that it wasn't something that they just like decided to randomly announce. But they brought up with Fallout First, which essentially you can pay it monthly or you can pay it the year. The year is obviously the better deal, like most things. You get access to have private servers, which is kind of shitty because they said you could get private servers when they announced the game, and it was implied that it was going to be free. You get some exclusive skins and some exclusives like icons and emotes and stuff. And then the one thing that actually does make it worth it is, so it's about, I think if you do it yearly, it's like $100, so it's less than $10 a month at that point, roughly. I don't know, math's hard. But if you do it monthly, it is I think 13 a month or something like that. But you get 1,600 atoms to use in the Atom Shop, which accumulates to $16. So every month you get $16 back for spending 13 potentially with them. So like it's kind of like you get more out of it than they take. So if you're someone who like actively buys things in the Atom Shop, it's 100% a great deal. But here's the huge caveat to everything. So a lot of the community was so butthurt that some of the people who've been playing since day one have decided to attack anyone who is a Fallout First subscriber. Because essentially, one of the exclusive skins they gave was the courier guy or the ranger guy from New Vegas, and anyone who's been wearing that costume essentially has been getting attacked by higher level people. Now, if you're in adventure mode, it doesn't really matter because unless you attack them back, they can't hurt you. But it's more so just an annoyance thing because they follow you around, they kill things you're trying to kill, they continue to attack you,
fuck with
you, and just basically grief you. So it just kind of shows how quickly Bethesda can take a community that was actually working really well together and only had a handful of trolls and flip it on its head to the point where now anyone who wants to support Bethesda is the enemy, and it's like got a civil war going on.
That's still kind of cool.
All just coming from like what I've seen on the Reddit, because I've seen videos and stories and stuff on Reddit, because I haven't played it in a solid 2.5 months since I went cold turkey. Because I stopped playing it a week before they announced Fallout First, and I was like, oh man, I really kind of like the idea, because I was one of those idiots who continued giving them money and earning points in the game so I could unlock things. I mean, hell, I think I had like 1,000 points, so I used 800 of it to get a stupid Mr. Fuzzy ride for my camp. Like I was all into that kind of stuff. Like it was fun. It was, it sucks that the prices were a little iffy, but I was like, man, that's actually a good service in my opinion. Like, yeah, it sucks that, they screwed everyone over with the whole like, oh, private servers are only for Fallout First members. And the private servers can only have 5 people on them, which I feel like was even dumber.
God, wait, that would make the world feel empty, I guess.
Well, I think it's more so because like the biggest problem Fallout had was you'd have a lot of people who are MMO players and they'd play every day for X amount of hours, so they were super high level. They had end game weapons that they got before they fixed the game, so they were super OP. And you'd be doing like missions or stuff to get like legendaries or like do certain
Yeah.
things, and these people come in and one shot all the enemies before you even get a shot off. So you get like none of the XP, you get none of the loot. So I think it's more so like you and your friends can play uninterrupted. You don't have to worry about anyone fucking you over out of the loot you want. That kind of idea, more so than like being able to have your own community that like stays on that server, kind of like a Warcraft kind of situation. It was more just like, oh, if you're one of those people who doesn't want interrupted because there's people who have no lives apparently.
Right.
Here's your opportunity.
I feel like that's cool. I mean, it doesn't sound like, from the way, I've seen like online and, kind of funny shit like that on
Mhm.
these shows, it just seemed like it was the worst thing ever. So, I mean, honestly, after hearing that, it doesn't sound bad.
I think
It
I
doesn't
think
sound
it's
bad.
more that just the timing, because when you
Yeah.
push back something that people were, I still don't get why they were excited for it, because I feel like NPCs are just going to ruin that game. Because when you have 15 people all trying to do the same mission, it's going to fuck something up somewhere. So either someone's going to miss part of the mission, or something's not going to go right and it's going to kick someone out, or someone's not going to get credit. Like it's a mess waiting to happen. But people were excited for it, and when they pushed that back, and then less than a week later announced, "Hey, give us more money," it just kind of rubbed people the wrong way. And as per usual, the internet was a drama queen and went over the
That's it.
top, like just like they did with the stupid bag that came with the collector's edition. Like,
This game has
I'm
had
sorry,
some rough
I'm sorry.
some rough goes, man.
That's one of the things that pisses me off most, is the fact that like someone had the nerve to sue them over false advertising over the canvas bag. If I need to go back and sue every single developer that sold me one of those shitty PVC statues that looked like they were going to be amazing on the picture, and then I got them and it looked like something I got at Walmart in the quarter machine. Like, but I
I mean,
sucked it the fuck up. It was my decision to buy it. They never like the fact, oh, boo-hoo, it wasn't a canvas bag. Who gives a shit? No one's going to use the bag anyway. It's going to sit on a shelf next to your stupid helmet that you're never going to wear, and that's the end of it. Like, the internet annoys me.
whoa, that was Fallout 76 podcast. It was good. I wanted you to get your aggression. I mean, honestly, that is the most legit way to answer you like this question, because you wish that everyone would play 76, and that game has gotten from the gates, bad rap
Oh
after bad
yeah,
rap.
since
But
day,
even like the
they've
time
been
I
since
spent with
before
it,
it like
it's
came
not bad.
out. Like the beta, like day one with the beta, it was getting shit. Like, and don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, when it first opened, it kind of deserved it, because they had this game that they had been working on since Fallout 4. Like originally, this was what they wanted to do. They wanted to have this mode on Fallout 4 as like an alternative option, but it just wasn't in the cards at the time, and that's when it turned into 76. And the fact that it was crashing all the time, and there were all sorts of these like game breaking glitches and stuff, like it was more on them for not just being like, hey, we're going to push it back to next year. Yeah, it would disappoint people, but guess what, they probably wouldn't have gotten half the shit they did, at least for the beta part of things.
Right. I mean, I don't know what to say about 76. I'm totally in, though. I'm totally in. If I get some free time, that'll
I know,
be,
me
off
and
of
you
my.
played it, and you enjoyed the time we played it, so just it kind of further proves that like it's not a bad game.
No, it's not. Although
It's
I
just the
like all
internet being
video games.
dramatic. You
I
do.
like all video games.
Like, there could be a game where literally you sit somewhere and someone shits on your face, and you'd be like, "It's not that bad."
As long as they have a good story, I'm all about it. Like, why am I getting shitted
Yeah,
on?
the guy read the newspaper and he told me what was going on in the world while he shit on my face. So like, at least I got a good story time out of it.
Whoa. Now we've brought up 76. We brought up turds multiple times. Let's move on. So what's something that you I forgot I was even asking you questions. What's a game that you play like multiple times that you like tend to go back to? And what I mean by that is, like, what is your like, comfort food? You got, a biscuit,
Ooh.
fried chicken, macaroni and cheese. Like, what's that but for video games? What's your comfort food?
Man. I mean, I don't go back to it too often, but man, RTS they got a special place in my heart, especially Civilization. Like, Sid Meier's came out on Switch, and man, I couldn't wear pants for like a month. Like, it was crazy. I was so ready, and it came out. I bought it day one, and like literally I went home, popped it in the Switch, and I played it for like 5 hours at my buddy's house while we were watching one of the wrestling pay-per-views. And I'm just like, this is is home for me. Like that was one thing I missed because back
Wow.
on PS3 we had I think it was Civilization 5 because I think they're on 6 now,
Yeah.
or no, Civilization 4 because 5 didn't come out on anything for PC. Um, and there were nights where like me and my buddy we get two TVs, we put our consoles next to each other, and we'd system link and we'd play it for 12 hours straight. Just one match, not even like multiple. Like it would just be one match with us versus like 8 other countries leaders, and like like we get to the point where we were developing like futuristic cities and nukes and stuff, and like it's my
That's
dirty little secret there that
it is, dude. I don't know the origin story, so I don't even know how long I've known you, but like that is a complete surprise. I love that you love RTS. Like I would have never guessed that at all. Like ever. Like that's honestly, I don't even know what this like that surprised me. When you said Civilization, I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? That's
Oh, dude, I
crazy.
love it.
That's
Like,
awesome,
just I don't know
man.
what it is, but like just planning it all out and making allies, then turning on them, or making other allies with their enemies and helping them fuck them over. It's I don't know, maybe it's a god
Oh,
complex or something, but
yeah. Now
I
this
love
is
every
starting to
second
make
of it.
sense. It's starting to make sense now. That's really awesome. So like that's it. I learned something about you. Like I know a lot of these questions I ask, and I'm like, yeah. I know a lot of this stuff, but that is honestly the first thing. Like that's surprising. That's really
Oh yeah,
cool. I'm sorry, I can't.
you're all
I
good.
don't know.
It's not something that like I talked to a lot of people before because now a lot of people play them, so I'm like I got it for Switch. I'm like, I didn't expect to play online with anybody or anything like that because I don't know anyone else who is really into them. So it's just something I kind of
Hey
do
man,
on my own
we're
here
not,
and there. Hell, I even broke down and I bought Civilization 5 for my PC at one point because for 5 years on PlayStation we had nothing. There was no like they had Tropico, which is kind of okay at best. They had a few like more like cartoony ones, but we didn't really have anything that was kind of juicy like Civilization. So I bought it for my PC and played it on that, and hated myself every second of ever playing on my PC. Um,
well, that's good. I appreciate that. That's crazy, man. That's honestly like insane. Which is like I'm so happy to do this podcast because I really hope I get more like surprises from that. Mike's in the RTS. That's crazy. So I guess I'll move it on now. Like the that was like the chunk of us just figuring out like who you are as a gamer. But now this is the time to figure out why are you a gamer.
oh
So
man, that's gonna be interesting because I don't even know.
that's I didn't either, and that's why I was like, let me do this show. So I hope you. Well, then I guess we know the answer to this. So Mike, why do you play video games? And like when I say this, you don't have to have like some sappy story of like I picked up my first controller and but it just really like do you have like
And a light shined down to me on me, and everything got dark, and I knew it was the one.
I was destined to play. But no, like seriously, like is like what's the motivation for you to play video games outside of like obviously the addiction? Like why do you play video games?
Honestly, at this point, like my biggest motivation is more so just the social aspect for it. Because now that I live 3,000 miles away from all of my friends, it's the one way that I still have to interact with them aside from obviously doing podcasts with you and the rest of the fanboys or like just texting or chatting online. It kind of gives me something where we can interact more and just kind of BS and kind of like if we were hanging out, but obviously via the internet from half the country away. Um, that's probably the biggest motivation nowadays. Before it's more so just I love comic books, but I never have time where I can just sit down and read them. So like for me, video games were almost like a comic book that you could play, and it kept you interactive. And like I have a big problem where I can't sit down and just like stay sitting down very often unless I'm watching like a movie or a TV show or something that like really kind of gets me. So like
Yeah.
video games like kind of keep me at least mildly active enough to where I can kind of sit in one spot for a bit. And Like even when we do Fanboy Fight Club, usually I'm pacing around the room because I can't sit still.
That's why you're always out of breath.
That is 100% why I'm always like, I'm sitting there like shooting through 30 seconds of an argument as fast as I can barely breathe, and I'm pacing back and forth in a room. Like by the end of it, I'm like, damn, I'm out of shape. But no, it really is just like it's something that kind of keeps me interacted enough that I can sit still and play it and enjoy it. But I don't get too fidgety to the point where I'm like, okay, I have to put this down and go do something. Like even while we're doing this, I've probably moved into 80 different positions in this chair just because I do walking back and forth, but I don't want to get winded, and I'm tethered to my phone hooked to the wall because it was almost dead when I realized it was time to do this.
Well, I mean that's actually that's a pretty awesome answer. Like it doesn't have to be like I said, and then just like shine down.
It's probably
but
not like Wes where he was like, when I was a small boy, I saw the Ninja Turtles game on the shelf, and I just knew that this was my destiny.
I mean, honestly, like his was like a form of escape and to like get away from like the day-to-day grind in the world. And then it's just funny that yours is like a way to bring you together, you know, with people. So like that's awesome. Video games literally do everything. Like I can't wait to have an episode of myself so I could just steal everyone's answers. But that like legitimately though, that is a really good reason. I mean, you're really far away, so that's cool.
Am like I've been back to Ohio once, and I'll be back again here in a few weeks to see everybody. But I mean, aside from that, you guys, Carl, Rob, like the only way I really have to interact is either just by randomly texting each other or playing video games, and it just feels a lot more personal when you're playing video games because you're like talking to the person, you're interacting with them. It's not just like, hey, what's up? Oh yeah, work sucks. Oh yeah, Ohio sucks. Oh, that sucks. Like,
hey now. Well, like so then I mean someday we may be closer, or you may be closer to your friends. Is that going to be a reason to stop playing video games? So like do you ever see yourself like not playing video games is basically the question.
Not permanently. There's definitely been patches where I'll go through and I will kind of get more into wanting to get caught up on comics or get more into collecting my figures and stuff, and just basically like financial things that will kind of take it away where I have to choose, like, do I want to play these games that I kind of like, or do I want to get this figure that I've been waiting for 3 years kind of thing. Like there's been a few times where I'd have, like, it was back around, I think, either PS3 or beginning of PS4, where aside from like hopping on and play with my friends, I didn't really play any of the single player games that had come out because they were like, oh, that looks cool, but there were other things I'd rather spend my money on at the time.
That's fair.
So it's definitely something that like happens from time to time, but it's not something I ever see permanently happening. They'd have to do something like pretty dramatic, like go 100% digital or something.
I didn't bring that up at all. I was gonna add that as a special question for you, but everyone, if you don't know, Mike is 100% against digital formatting games.
I'm not 100% against it. Like there's certain occasions, like I bought Borderlands 3 digital because the girlfriend wanted to play it on her PS4 as well, and we could do game sharing for like the however much I paid for, I think it was the deluxe edition, or I'd have to pay for that twice to get 2 physical copies. So in some occasions, I'll break down and do the digital, or if I get it free, or if it's like a super good discount or something. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have the physical version for 2 reasons. One, I just like having that little shelf in the corner, my games on it. And
wall of shame.
And 2, because at the end of the day, I can get something out of my investment versus it just being there and then eventually getting deleted. And it's like, okay, did I not get my $60 worth out of that game? If I didn't, then I feel robbed because I now can't even trade it in to get something I'd rather play. Like if I bought Pokemon Digital right now, oh man, I'd be throwing myself off the balcony real quick.
Well, before you trade that in, text me.
All right.
So I feel like you got a little bonus question out there. So, but I feel like that's a good way, like, kind of to wrap up. I think we got a really good story of who you are as a gamer, and we actually know why you legitimately play games, and that's awesome. So, is there anything else you want to say? Not like, well, you know what? I'm going to flip this up a little bit because I'm going to pimp out like, Media Junkie, but go ahead and just do like a shout out to like, you are amazing graphic designer. You make, good, cool shit for us. And you also make awesome shirts. You want to like throw that out there?
Oh man, I feel like I'm gonna blush a little. Yeah, so I have a handful of Instagrams at this point.
And
So
it'll be in the show
essentially,
notes too, by the way.
awesome, because one of them's really long. So the first one is gonna be for eventually, once everything with YouTube gets settled with this whole thing where like they're trying to make anything toy related for kids, and if you break the rules, you get fined $40,000 or something like that. Once they get their nonsense figured out and I get some technical issues figured out, I'm going to start back up with a YouTube series that I did a year ago called Modern Toy Fair, where I essentially go through and review new action figures I get from time to time. Right now, it's just kind of dwindled down to being an Instagram account where I post either new things I get or things I'm working on, because I do some like mild custom work on figures, or even just like action figure photography in general. And that's, you can just find me at Modern Toy Fair. It's spelled just like it sounds. It's a play on words from Modern Warfare, obviously. And the other Instagram account is going to be Vault of Personality Comics. That's where you'll find all my t-shirt designs, including some that we have for Media Junkie. You can also find all my shirts on tpublic.com. If you just search Media Junkie or Fanboy Fight Club or Gimmick Minute, it'll bring up my shirts, and you can just click on the Vault of Personality store right there in the links, and essentially, and kind of avoid having to type in a long ass URL that I know you're not going to type in. But other than that, I do post some of the stuff on Twitter, just so that way I hit up multiple forms of social media, but that's all on my personal account, which is just at Cult of Gresser. It's Cult of GRESSER. Beyond that, I think that's all the shameless plugs I have for this one.
All right. Well, if you enjoy this show, be sure to check out Media Junkie's flagship podcast, Fanboy Fight Club, where me, Mike, and a few other fanboys fight to the death defending our opinions. Or not so much to the death, because I am the bitch of the week. Find out more about that on the next episode of Fanboy Fight Club. Or if you're not a fan of people fighting to the death and you prefer them to fake fight to the death, you can check out the Gimmick Minute podcast that's all about wrestling.
That may be the best way I've ever heard someone describe that podcast.
That was off the cuffs as well. But both of these shows can be found by just searching Media Junkie on your podcast platform of choice. Also, if you could do the same thing, rate us and just share us. That's overall like the best way. But I'm your host, Jarmar. This is Mike. We just figured out why he's a gamer. So keep pondering on why you're a gamer. Until next time, we'll see you.